Today we will explain the meaning of history, why we study history, what are primary sources and secondary sources, how do historians use sources, how do we interpret history, what does history teach us about people, and how does history connect us to the past. History is the record of past events. It is the story of people and what happened to them. Each group of people has its own history. History is the general experience of mankind. On the other hand, history is a complex philosophical question. It is the study of past human events informed by evidence. Coming down to why we study history. The people who lived before us learned many lessons they could share with us. Imagine knowing nothing about those people. We will have to learn all their lessons by ourselves. And if that happened, history will be dead. But happily, history is alive and well. It lives in our culture, our customs, language, and values. So it can teach us its lessons. Now, what are primary and secondary sources of history? When writing history, historians ask themselves 5 Ws. What happened? When and where did it happen? Who was involved? Why did it happen? To find answers, they look for primary sources. These primary sources are first-hand or eyewitness accounts of the event. They also seek out secondary sources or second-hand records of what happened. Imagine an argument in the school cafeteria. It will show you the difference between these two sources. You see that argument, so you are an eyewitness. That makes you a primary source. You tell someone about the argument, that person is not an eyewitness, so that person becomes a secondary source. How do historians use sources? A historian writing about the Sokoto Jihad or the Nigerian Civil War will read what people living at the time wrote. These primary sources will include newspapers, diaries, or daily personal records, and letters. The same historian will also read what recent historians have written about the war. Their books are secondary sources because these historians were not eyewitnesses. Example of these books in light of the Nigerian Civil War include books such as Groundwork of Nigerian History, Fall of Nigeria, The Story of Nigeria, to mention but a few. You have used secondary sources ever since you started school. This textbook is a secondary source, but you are a primary source for what you actually see and hear each day. Now let's go to how do historians interpret history? Individual people like yourself record history because people deeper, what they record deepest, you interpret or explain the cafeteria argument you remembered one way, another eyewitness interprets it another way. So your two interpretations or explanations differ. Secondary sources differ in the interpretations too. History helps us remember our past. It also helps us understand how we got to the present. This knowledge helps us figure out what to do tomorrow. So what does history teach us about people? History tells us the story of all the people in every country of the world. We discover the new ideas, we realize that they did great things. History helps us understand their problems. Remember that cafeteria argument? To really understand what caused it, we need to question each person involved. Then we discover all the things that caused the argument. The same is true with history. Now, finally, How does history connect us to the past? History connects us to all the people who have ever lived. Much happened before our lives began, much will happen after our lives end, but the past gives us roots. Roots anchor or hold a tree in the ground. A family tree helps you understand who you are. A family tree or history of the world helps you understand the human race. You are a part of the global community. It stretches back through time to the beginning of humanity. Now that we know what history is, we will now see how the land itself, deserts, rivers, forests, build the stage for the empires to come.